Hello everyone, and welcome back to Strife Veteran Edition, where today we're gonna try and beat the game.
Damned impressive entranceway. But what we're searching for is on another level. Head down.
We'll do that in a second. First of all, there's a strange wall here, which when you try to use it, it'll say it doesn't seem to work. This is where the Oracle path and the Mesal path sort of converge again. Only when you're doing the Oracle path, usually you won't have access to all three relics, due to it being a different path and it doesn't get to those items usually. There is a way, but I'll get to that at the end of the video. But first, let's just move on. Because we don't have the relic as the Oracle path, I will not melee everything to death with my insta-kill melee attack, but every now and then I'm probably still going to use it though. First though, we're going to be a little stealthy here and deal with just a handful of enemies. Just ignore all of these things flying around. And of course occasionally I'm still going to melee things, because even without the relics you can melee some of these things with relative ease, so no worries there. Mostly I just want to stay stealthy until we're done with this room right here. First I'm just going to open up the next path. There is a switch there you have to push, and I'm gonna just take care of a handful of enemies here. There we go. Alright, now as you may have noticed, there's a couple Crusaders in this room. I don't want to really deal with them, so we're just gonna shoot a couple of these flame grenades and we're just gonna wait that out. I'm also gonna shoot a couple of regular grenades in this direction. And that will probably take care of most of everything that spawns in that bottom area, so that's pretty great. I'm a little concerned that I'm still hearing Crusaders, although it might be one that's in the next room, thinking about it. Usually that one fire grenade will take care of this entire room. And it's nice because it's a lot of Crusaders. But yeah, I think there's one right here. Yeah. Just hanging out behind the door. First I'm gonna actually make sure that we actually did get everything here, and indeed there is still something alive. I can hear a sentinel whooshing around the entire time, so I'd like to just make sure that's gone. There's a Templar shooting at me, but he's all the way up there, so I'm not gonna be too concerned about him just yet, because we can't actually do anything in that direction for now until we press a button that's a little bit later. So with all that done, we are just going to move on. There is some sentinels here now. Usually they're sort of hanging out outside, but it seems a couple of them have managed to get in here. A little tedious, but no worries. You can hear a lot of sentinels, and that's because there's a million of them. So usually, if you can shoot a couple grenades down in front of this wall, you can get a decent amount of them, but occasionally they have just scattered all over the place, and that makes it a little difficult. There is also a couple of turrets shooting you from the other side of the level here, so really just a lot of very small, irritating things to deal with. But no concerns whatsoever. Yeah, it's surprisingly small amount. They can occasionally just be completely clustered all across this area, like in front of this wall, and then you shoot a grenade and all of them die. But I think because I was sort of walking back and forth a lot, they ended up splitting up a little bit more than I would have liked. But fortunately the rocket launcher is very capable of dealing with most troubles in this place. Let's just make sure we get all the sentinels though, and then we can move on. I'm just going to circle this building for a little bit. There is a couple of entryways that you can take inside this building. This one leads to a teleporter that brings you back to the start of the level. I mostly went there to destroy that singular turret, and now we can move back on. I think this guy's stuck. Yeah, he never really moves, so we can just take care of him with relative ease, assuming, of course, we don't forget about his friend. I'm also just using surgery kits all over the place because there's going to be a couple of them. Just for fun, let's just use our melee attack every now and then at least, because it does make the enemies just fly forward, and I like the effect. But with that done, let's move on. There is another enemy that is a little bit stuck there. We'll deal with him in just a second in the way that we've dealt with the regular one as well. This one also is just always stuck. And I think even without the relic, you can just melee him to death fairly safely, just because he can't move, so no worries. There's also a lot of resources here, so that's wonderful. There's another surgery kit here, so that we don't have to worry about our health. And there is a turret. Primarily, we're here to deal with those two acolytes. I don't know where those came from. There's a couple Sentinel still alive as well. Mostly we came here to press this switch right here. That'll open up this and that, things that we need to acquire. It'll open up the passageway onward. And it'll also make this teleporter available, which takes you up top this rock, which lets you jump through this translucent window. Not a secret area, but it does have a bunch of health and ammo for your weapons, so all in all, a pretty good place to be. And I've been hearing a stalker for a while now, and I'm not sure if we can actually reach that one. I'm actually just going to make sure that we've gotten everything here. Yeah, there is indeed one in this tiny corridor and a couple more. You can shoot some more enemies through the fan here, and it is kind of recommended to get rid of these enemies now rather than later, because later you sort of teleport in that room, and if they're still alive, then that's a bad time. So deal with them now, and then you won't have to worry about them later. I think that's just about everything we can take care of here. That teleporter will also just take you back. God, I'm always worried when I hear the non-stop sound of sentinels flying around because it's very easy to miss a sentinel when they're just hugging a wall. But occasionally some of them teleport through some of the teleporters as well, and they end up in this starting area just hugging the wall. So you shouldn't be too worried about the whole ordeal, but easy to miss enemies at times. Now there was a Templar here earlier. I'm sure he's still here as well. We can hear him go wham. He's gone now. Easily dispatched. This teleporter is available because we pressed that one button in that one place earlier. I think we can take care of some of the turrets here real quick though, before they have a chance to really shoot at us. So that's nice. We can also deal with a couple acolytes as well if you so desire, but this teleporter teleports you to a switch, and then pressing the switch will open the door so you can actually progress. Couple enemies stuck inside each other there, no worries. And once again, we're just going to make sure that we're trying to kill as many enemies here as possible. There is well, quite a lot of enemies actually stuck inside each other from the look of things. There's a couple different routes you can take to this place, but most of them lead to you falling down and taking a decent chunk of falling damage, which isn't great. It actually deals with quite a lot more damage than you would expect from this height, I would say. So we're going to take this a little bit more safely. And we're actually going to go down places where it doesn't hurt to go down. There is still some enemies downstairs. There might be a stalker or something as well, but in this place you're basically always going to be hearing stalkers. I'm curious actually if you could just go through this teleporter. Yeah, by going over it, and then it takes you to the bottom of this place as well. I guess that's a way to actually get down here, because this teleporter, I always thought the teleporter was a bit pointless, but I guess I now understand why it's there, because you can do that with it. Because it just takes you to the other side of the courtyard usually, and that never really seemed that useful, but now I can kind of understand it. There's a couple turrets in this place, also a couple stalkers. We're just going to be using grenades a lot of the time. There's also going to be some enemies that we can't ever really see or interact with. You can hear stalkers continuously, and a couple of them are just in strange places. We'll deal with them in a second. Let's get rid of this turret first. You do want to keep some grenades actually to take care of those particular enemies. At least like one set of regular grenades, or just a fire grenade really should do the trick. But there's a stalker down here, and I never really know why, because to my knowledge there's not actually a way to get down here. I haven't managed it at least, but even if there is, I don't think you'd be able to get out. There we go. That's one of them. And then similarly in this place, I think there's a sentinel in there as well. Yeah, they're just hanging out. They really, realistically can't do anything to you. It's very strange. Mostly, I guess they're here as a distraction, so you're hearing the sound of enemies the entire time, but it's odd for sure. Well, if there was anyone in there, they're definitely dead now, so I'm assuming we're hearing a different enemy right now. There was the sound of an Inquisitor earlier as well, which we do need to deal with at some point. But usually he's just stuck in his little courtyard, just sort of flying around, so I'm not really too concerned about it, but he's usually right here, yeah. Just hanging out, flying upwards, doing Inquisitor stuff, as you can see. It's kind of annoying if you're in this courtyard, but if you're not, he just kind of keeps flying up. So it's absolutely not a problem at all. I can still hear some Templars, which I'm a little concerned about. they might be down here somewhere. And we'll just take a nice and semi-safe route. Yeah, they're stuck inside each other as well. Oh, there's really a lot of enemies stuck inside each other in this place, isn't there? Very unusual. Let's actually just use an ore. We'd rarely get the opportunity to use these in any offensive capability. I also don't really have that many left, I suppose. Also, in this courtyard, there is kind of an oddity because there is a turret, which is sort of floating in the air there. A little bit too far away to ever be a danger to you as well. Also, a stalker behind here. And also a reaver. This place has some extra things, but if you go up the elevator, you can't take it back down again, so keep that in mind if you actually want the goodies. And I'm gonna assume that we've basically killed everything here. I was just staying silent for a while. We can now actually use these teleporters. 2 of them actually lead somewhere to a switch that we need to press. These switches will open up beams that are currently blocking a different teleporter that's inside this place. So we used the first of the buttons. Now we are going to use the second of the buttons, which is right here. And with that, you can hear something open. It's right there. That's where we need to go. Taking the second teleporter just makes it a little bit easier to go back to this place because it can be a little bit easy to get lost in here. And that more or less opens up the rest of the level. There is still a couple of enemies alive right now, but usually they're not that big of a deal. There is some more stuff to acquire in just a moment. But if you go in here, then it opens up the place and suddenly some reavers come out. I think if you kill these stealthily... Let me actually try that. Then... maybe I didn't do it stealthily enough, because there is some Templars here as well. I don't think they're immediately hostile to you, but it seems that after I killed that reaver, they were mad at me, so yeah, fair enough, I suppose. That more or less concludes the level, but there is still one place we have left to go. There is this door, which is now open. We can use it to press the switch. It will teleport you to the third of the 3 teleporters, and the switch opens this door, which allows you to get a couple more goodies and some gold as well. You can actually just go all the way back and use up some of that gold. Going back, you won't actually take the teleporter, but ordinarily if you try to go through that door, it will just teleport you to this strange little room where the elevator will take you up, but you won't be able to go down again. It's all a little unusual for sure, but you know, it's a nice little good location. It's not technically a secret area for the achievement, but it is it's hidden. I would call it hidden for sure. But that is that. We're going on to the next level now, the lab. And if we walk forward slowly, maybe.
The truth can only be found in universal will. You will fall on your knees in front of the true God, the one light. Join me, and I will complete the sigil.
I am sick of this mystical double talk.
Yeah. So that's the person that wants us to be dead. You can melee these without the relic as well, so I'm just gonna call that a win. And I'm gonna just set this place on fire a little bit. You can immediately hear the sound of some Inquisitors flying over usually. I'm also just going to set that part on fire. I'm actually just going to use an environmental suit just to be safe. Because I am going to be walking here a little bit. Fortunately, this place is fairly narrow, so the Inquisitors won't usually reach you. But it can be a little scary because they are still very, very dangerous enemies. There we go. I don't know if... they might actually be stuck there. Both of them? Not that stuck though. I am still taking this very carefully anytime the Inquisitor has a chance to really do anything, because they are scary. They do actually have an attack that's not grenades, but then they also have that, so certainly be very, very careful around these enemies. They're very scary, and they can step on top of this ledge, as you can see. But a single well-placed shot usually takes care of them fairly well. Also, a couple reavers down there. You heard the bad guy talk just a second ago. He won't actually attack you until you press the switch. Come on. Oh, I'm out of... Oh, that's annoying. But he's dead, I think. He won't actually attack you until you press this button right here. So we're gonna wait with that. God, they hurt so much. They're being really good at aiming today. It's surprising. You're also going to be hearing a lot of stalkers because a couple of them are just in a hole and they can't really ever reach you, so keep that in mind. Nothing's too terrifying, but it's certainly a good idea to clear this place out first before dealing with the actual scary enemy, which is the boss, the Lore Master, as he's called. I forget if he's ever really mentioned anywhere, or if he just kind of shows up, but it wouldn't surprise me if there's some random NPC mentioning the Lore Master at some point. They are usually pretty good about mentioning anyone who's even vaguely relevant to the story, so I wouldn't be too surprised, but maybe he's just a boss. I don't know. I genuinely do not. I'm not too bothered about it either way. Either way, let's go in this direction first. Do the little jumping puzzle to get to this part right here, because there is a couple stalkers that we can take care of. There is an elevator you can take down here as well, so you won't actually take a whole bunch of falling damage. And there's this interesting looking room with a bunch of pods. We can talk to person who has a little bit of information about the current circumstances. I'm not sure if he's brainwashed or not, but he kind of does creep me out. Also, there's a monitor here, and if you destroy it, you can go through it. I don't know if you need to destroy it actually, but you might. And that is the final secret area of the game. Now we have actually seen all of them that at least count as secret areas specifically, which is a little bit of extra information that goes with that sentence, I suppose. This elevator is mostly important just so you don't take 100 million falling damage going slightly downwards, which again is a bit of an issue. There we go. Now normally, there is some stalkers down there, but I'm not actually hearing anything, surprisingly enough. Usually you'll hear them if they're actually inside the hole. And I'm not sure if I managed to just find a way to not get any of them to fall down the hole, but maybe I did. Huh. That's surprising. I've never seen no stalkers be in that hole because they're very good at jumping down into that hole and just being stuck forever because they can't do anything from that point on. This downward place leads you to a teleporter, which leads you to some more ammunition. And that's really the only thing that's here. I think took 60 falling damage because I was too impatient to wait for an elevator that we still had to wait for it to go down again afterwards as well. So that worked out as well as it realistically could have. And there is still one room that we haven't actually entered yet. It's all... Very good. It's all the way on the other side. I think, yeah, there's an elevator over here. If we open it, it's a big room. There is a lot of acolytes that are being created here, I suppose, also kind of in a factory fashion. Going into this room, there is even more of these pods with people of varying qualities of body hanging out. I guess this is where they make the acolytes or some such. You can actually destroy these, but they don't technically count as enemies. But, you know, you can. I think if you destroy them too loudly, though, everything closes off and then you can't do anything anymore. What we're gonna do, though, is we're gonna just throw some flames in this room. Because this is almost like a town situation in terms of how many enemies are waiting to guard this place in particular. There is so many. I think there's like 70 enemies in this level, and honestly, like at least over half of them are just in this place alone. So we're just gonna set all of this on fire a couple times. They all teleport in slowly but surely. You can also hear them through the wall again. The room where they're teleporting from is fairly close to here, so as long as there's still a couple of them alive, you can generally hear them. So no real worries of surprises there, so that's nice. I'm guessing they're all dead though, but this also actually gives you a pretty decent amount of ammo and makes your screen really yellow for a moment. Because we were basically out of bullets a second ago in this level, and now we're basically entirely stocked up again, so it's definitely worthwhile if you like a machine gun. Anyway, now comes the battle with the Lore Master, which is interesting. It's a boss for sure. Which might be a strange statement, but his weapon is just so odd. It's this he shoots grappling hooks, and if he hits you, he pulls you towards him. And if you fall into the hole that he's currently floating above, you just die. So it's an interesting fight for sure, but he's just not... He doesn't do anything else. Like, he does have a melee attack, I think, which I have to be somewhat careful of, but that's really about it. Trying to make this weapon at least somewhat useful, but look at... Where is it even going? He's actually so far away. I'm not sure if we can maybe get him to get a little bit closer to us, but I don't really want to jump down because that just deals so much damage. At the same time, though, I'm getting a little bored of this nonsense, and there we go. Alright, so he's dead. Of course, as per Strife tradition, he then drops down the old Cloud Buddy. Let's actually choose a surgery kit while we're still somewhat alive. His sigil attack's pretty good. It's alright, comparatively to mine for sure. And I want to play this somewhat carefully. Although, having said that, I don't think I've ever actually died to this phase. So, you know, today might be the first day. His attack looks very scary, though. He should be nearly dead, I would say. Ah, God, am I really gonna have to jump down there to actually get him? Because this is not really working out. I'm not really hitting him, is the problem. There we go.
You wield the power of the complete sigil.
Yeah.
What do you say we go get some closure?
So after killing him, you first of all, you get the last accuracy and stamina upgrade, so that is that taken care of. We now wield the complete sigil, as Blackbird has pointed out. I'm too lazy to... No, 60 damage. It's not really worthwhile. And also our sigil now deals this attack, which is pretty cool. It's still... It takes a lot of health. It's pretty... yeah, it's pretty expensive, but it does look very cool. So, you know, there's that.
From the looks of it, we're gonna need the full sigil to unlock this puppy.
Yeah.
Something tells me this is the end of the rainbow.
So, this statement might seem unnecessary, that you need the full sigil, but you can, in the Oracle path, get here without, at this point, having the full sigil. So I'm guessing that's why they actually actively pointed out, because otherwise you're just going to be stuck here and you won't be able to do anything. But you'd have to go back to the Oracle at this point in that path. I'll show that off more once we're done with this route, but for now, let's just move on. Into the alien ship, which has been foreshadowed for a bit. There is a lot of consumables here. This might seem like you need all these consumables, but you really don't need that many, but that's okay. I suppose if you get here without anything, then this can be kind of useful. Also, doors have a tendency to close behind you in this place, so hopefully we killed all the enemies because there is no turning back from this point. Not a reliable way, at least, so I'm just gonna assume we killed everything. We're opening all the doors. And there is a couple of Reavers that come out when you press that switch. And we're just gonna carefully take care of them. You could probably just shoot one grenade and kill all of them, but that's okay. No concerns there. I'm still just using surgery kits willy-nilly. I'm also just gonna use these two shadow armors for fun again, because it's been a while since we've done that. And now we're going to deal with a handful of enemies. This level's not that big, but there is a couple of scary moments here, including one Inquisitor, which I just want to deal with as quickly as possible. Especially with the two shadow armors, this is unnecessarily scary, I suppose, because these enemies are just going to be shooting all over the place. Let's just shoot some grenades in that direction. The flames will probably take care of anything that's on the ceiling because of how Doom works, so that is wonderful. And we're just gonna shoot everything to bits. Pretty much anything that doesn't deal melee attack right now because of these shadow armors is not gonna shoot anywhere close to me, so no concerns there. And there is usually, again, a couple stalkers just hanging out in holes here. So if you just shoot some grenades wildly, you'll generally just end up killing stuff, and that's kind of nice. But we'll just probably shoot some fire down there as well in a second. There is some more stuff to talk about here, but I'll get to that in a moment. I'm just going to shoot some flames down here. Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds like it took care of most of it. There is a sentinel usually down there, which I'm a little concerned about, because sentinels have a tendency to just hang out down there forever, and I'm hoping he died. It's hard to tell at times, honestly. Because it's a big pit. You don't want to fall down this pit, as you can probably imagine. There is similarly, I think, a sentinel all the way down there, yeah. So let's just shoot some flames down there as well, because we're not going to need him beyond this point. Hopefully that just takes care of the sentinel. If not, also, this place gets real spooky. There's actually a stalker on the ceiling there. That's unusual. I don't know if he got stuck or something. There is maybe technically something interesting you can do with that stalker while we wait for the flames to dissipate to see if we killed that enemy or not. Come on. I'm gonna say I don't see anything down that hole anymore, so I'm just gonna assume he's dead. But in GZ Doom, I'm not sure if this is possible in the Veteran Edition, but there is a deathmatch exclusive door right here. And I think that enemies can open it from outside, which shouldn't be possible. I've not been able to reproduce it in the Veteran Edition at all, but you can do it if you're playing GZ Doom. This will open up a door to a teleporter, and it teleports you to behind the start of the level. And if you take that teleporter, then you'll be soft locked. At least if you take the teleporter and then go through the entrance that you're teleporting behind, because all the doors behind us have closed, and this one in particular, I don't think there's a way to actually open it from that point, so that's a bit of a problem. Also, one thing I forgot to point out is once we killed the Lore Master, there is some really specific things that open up. If you go all the way back to town, then if you cross the bridge, a teleporter will open up that just teleports you between two areas of the map. This is more just a coincidence with how the deathmatch and quest flags work interchangeably, but it just happens to be linked to killing the Lore Master for some reason. There's also like a couple other places. There was a place where we got a map earlier in the game, and there was a room that we couldn't visit, but that also requires you to kill the Lore Master or kill Mazel or stuff like that. And I think there's like a button you can reach to open up the catacombs from inside the commons after just doing random stuff. But that's just all related to how the quest stuff works in this game. Anyway, we're gonna take this elevator all the way up because there is some stuff waiting for us, including spooky sound pots. I don't think you can destroy these, but they do make scary sounds the entire time. Mostly we're here for the 20 gold, but also the surgery kit, of course. And with that, we can move on. I just want to have as much health as possible, and fortunately this place is filled to the brim with secret health. There is this scary corridor as well. If you fall all the way down here, then you die. If you touch the green, it's just death. So don't touch that. Instead, play it carefully so we can open up this door for a whole bunch of ammo and, more importantly, health. I say it's more important because it's the only important thing, because we're gonna be only using the sigil in a bit, and all this ammo, we can't really use it on anything, so I'm assuming this is mostly here for deathmatch purposes as well, but you can't just go here, so yeah, we will. I'm trying to be very careful with this, because if I die here, I'm gonna have to redo a bunch of stuff, and I don't really want to do that. I'm always a little bit concerned about anything jumping related in this game. For the same reason that I was in Hexen and other such games, because it's scary and instant death is a bad time. Anyway, let's move on into the Entity's Lair. The Entity's Lair is also kind of interesting. There is once again a sort of deathmatch exclusive thing as well, because if you move here, this wall opens and gives you some ammo for the Mauler. Also, again, just really interesting vibes here. Very strange sounds the entire time. And I'm into it. This door, I think you actually also need the full sigil as well. So if you somehow cheated your way into this level, then that door doesn't open. Because you don't have the full sigil. Unless you also get the cheat to get the sigil entirely, I suppose. But with that, let's go here.
You have crushed my order, torn through my ruses, and threatened centuries of desire. But I will prevail. I will infect you and twist you to my will.
Yeah, and in comes from the egg the final boss in the game. It's another ghost. He also has I think he has a bunch of sigil attacks, really. And we're just gonna kind of vaguely be shooting at the middle of the room as we're going on the outer edge of this room the entire time. I'm just gonna hold the attack button, actually. Because we're taking a lot of damage every time we use this weapon, but it's fine. You want to stay on the outer edge. I'm kind of worried that I'm no longer on the outer edge because they can teleport into you and just insta-kill you if you're unlucky, so I'm a little concerned. Once you kill the first one, he splits up into 3 more, but once you kill all 3,
Attention,
you
all
win.
troops of the front. He's done it. It's over. Blackbird's soldier has killed the evil. The order is no more. Blackbird, do you read me?
I knew you would win, my gallant hero. All fighting has stopped. Your victory will allow us to create a vaccine to purge the virus from our bodies. You have saved our planet and set us free. Now, I'd like to thank you, personally. Oh, and by the way, the name's Shauna.
And everyone is happy at the end. That is the first of 3 endings in the game. There is another one you can get using this path. It requires you to die in that final level, which I will just show off now.
You have crushed my order, torn through my ruses, and threatened centuries of desire. But I will prevail.
The sentient virus hit us like a tidal wave, driving us all mad. We heard the siren's song of death and we danced. This evil drained us of all human life, and scornful of procreation, recycled our families. Then one day, the evil left. There was simply nothing for it to feed on. We were extinct.
Honestly, a pretty good ending, but also a little annoying in the Veteran Edition because you do not have autosaves in this game, to my knowledge. So if you die during that fight, you're just gonna have to load whatever the last save file is rather than being able to start at the start of the level as you can usually do. So at least be somewhat aware of that. But there is a third ending, and that requires the Oracle path, and that is why we made this save file so long ago. Before, we had the choice to either go with Maisel or not go with him. We can talk to him and say that he should be the one that dies.
Who holds the third piece? There's your traitor.
Spirit of the one god, avenge me and turn this world into dust.
Which indicates that, yeah, he's already had the entity and the sigil and all that good stuff inside of him. And we can just kill him on a little bit earlier. Once we do that, which shouldn't be too difficult right now, because especially with this very nice weapon that we have, as you can see.
Richter has taken over command of our forces. And it looks like Maisel has been deceiving us all along. His true allegiance was to the Order. What a snake.
What a snake. So, I'm gonna try to summarize this route as much as possible because for the most part it's very similar as the regular route, just with a bit missing. We can now talk to the Oracle.
You have cut the cancer from your body, but your heart still beats. Next, you must find the surgeon who butchers and controls your people, the Lore Master. Stop him, and the next piece will be yours.
I guess the Oracle actually mentions the Lore Master. I genuinely forgot about that.
Use the teleporter behind the door I just opened to reach the Lore Master. When he is dead, use the same device to return to me.
Okay.
He may be ugly, but it seems like he's on our side.
And that is that. When we do that, this teleporter opens and it takes us to the Proving Grounds.
damned impressive
Which
entranceway. But what we're
is
looking for
interesting.
on another level. Head down.
Because now we're in the Proving Grounds with not quite all the sigil. We cannot go to the Commons because usually the door that's here is closed off. But we do have the really cool sigil weapon right now, so that's nice. Next up is the actual Lore Master fight, which is why we made this save file where, fortunately, everything's already dead. And we can now fight the Lore Master. Nothing else is really different between the parts that you just saw and the actual Lore Master fight because, well, it's just the same bit, except you get here a little earlier. We will once again try to destroy the Lore Master with our weapons. I might just fast forward through this. That's okay. But, God, I love this version of the sigil so much, though. He flew away. There he is. Okay. I'm hoping this should... Wow, 2 shots.
Another sigil piece. We are one step closer to freedom. And you are one step closer to me.
I forget if that line plays anywhere in the Mesa route, but that's a different line at least.
From the looks of it, we're gonna need the full sigil to unlock this puppy. Something tells me this is the end of the rainbow.
And when you try to interact with it, then nothing happens because we don't have the full sigil yet. So let's go back to the Oracle. It is quite a backtrack to do that, but that's okay. We'll just walk. Alright, we're back at the Oracle. Let's talk to him.
Pitiful man, you have done what thousands have failed to do. You bring me the power of the sigil, the voice of the one God. The sigil will open the door and free the spirit which will cleanse this planet and let me live forever. I will strip this world of its energies and find new worlds to conquer.
That's bad.
You can, if you're dead.
Thanks, bye. So we have to fight the Oracle once again. This has always worked out well for me. Though so far it's... Yeah, okay, that one's actually pretty okay.
You wield the power of the complete sigil. What do you say we go get some closure?
And usually this should open up... Yeah, there we go. That should open up that door immediately afterwards. Also, later I realized that this switch just opens a door slightly over there, I do believe, and I think there's situations where that can close. It's another quest flag related thing. Anyway, let's once again go back to the final boss. Alright, so from the get-go, this will be a little different.
Welcome. I have waited for this moment. I have waited for a fool like you to bring me my freedom. Your tiny planet is mine, and you will wish you were never born.
Which I think is a really cool plot twist, personally. It also has some implications on the normal ending of the game. But for now, let's actually try and make sure we survive this fight. Because otherwise, I of course did not make a save file right in front of this boss fight, because that would be too sensible. So hopefully this is just going to work out. We're just going to try once again to stay on the outer edge of the map and shoot towards the middle. 2 of them are already dead. The 3rd one should go.
Yes, the evil was gone, but our future was uncertain and clouded with doubt. It would take generations to purge the virus from our people, if we survived that long. Whatever the evil wanted, it drained from us the one thing we needed. It left us without hope.
Also a pretty cool ending. Also, in this path, you end up not destroying the converter. You don't end up destroying the computer? Yeah, the mind control computer thing as well. So there's just a bunch of stuff you end up not doing, which is interesting. It's a very different path. But let's get a little weird with it now, because there is another way that you can take this. But again, well, there's a couple things still remaining. First of all, we need to get back to the Oracle, so I will just see you there after destroying Mesa once again. So, first of all, you can actually just kill the Oracle immediately after killing Maisel, which does have its positive effects for sure, because using this weapon against the Oracle, as effective as it is against me, it's also fairly effective against the Oracle. And
No death, eternal life, and more, much more. This is my task. Cyborgs, part flesh, part steel, all to serve the one God. You do not serve, you die.
This POTS has another piece of the sigil.
And I think that voice line was added specifically for the Veteran Edition, because I think ordinarily you could get into this situation, but it wasn't exactly intended. And there were many ways for this to end up being a soft lock if that door wasn't open, I think. But it also gives you this sigil instead of the cool one for the, well, a rather difficult part of the game. So obviously that's not exactly what I want. So instead, let's go here. And rather than going to the teleporter, I'm going to use an invisible button that's right next to the teleporter instead. That will teleport you to the default entrance of the Proving Ground, which is right in front of the place that closes the door. So now, interestingly enough, we actually have a choice what we want our ending to look like, because from this point you can backtrack all the way back all over the place, and sort of incredibly it all sort of works. I'm real quick just going to use a little invincibility cheat, because it just makes backtracking a little bit simpler ultimately.
They mark their temples with big banners.
But there is, yeah, there's a couple routes you can take from this point on. And again, surprisingly enough, they all work. We can go here to enter the catacombs, for instance. Because the catacombs entrance is right here. If we talk to Richter, then we get the regular dialogue for the good ending before we start the fight with the entity. If you don't talk to Richter, then you'll get the Blackbird dialogue instead, which, you know, is you can choose to do that or not to do that. It ultimately doesn't matter too much. And then in order to get the good ending, you need to have destroyed the computer and you need to have destroyed the converter. And I'm kind of amazed how much you can do backwards. Because surprisingly enough, and I'm assuming this is largely just for deathmatch purposes, a lot of the doors just open from behind. Like, you can just open these beams. From here you can go all the way back into the mines. You can go over there if you want to go to the converter. We can go, I think, this direction. It's been a second since I've played these maps properly. But we could get some ore somewhere in this level. Yeah, we could actually just get some ore, and then we would be able to take the force field entrance as well. Oh, I'm kind of blanking for a second where the mines is again. Was it here? Yeah, it was here. So, yeah, you can somewhat easily take this path now as well. And you can press this switch immediately to get rid of all the force fields in this place. You can get through basically all of the mines taking this backwards path, and for the most part it seems like it shouldn't work, because there is this door right here, but you can just open it. And honestly, I'm so impressed that all of this sort of ties together and that you can just sort of do what you want in this particular route. The dialogue becomes basically nonsensical from this point on, because everything's completely out of order at this point, but you can go everywhere. So even if you kill Maisel first, you can end up getting the good ending, or a weird combination of the good and the not so good ending at the same time, and I think that's kind of incredible. That more or less sums up everything I have to show off here. So let's go to end game. And from here we can, I think there's a show cast, yeah. Which has your, I think this is also a Veteran Edition exclusive thing, but it has like the thing Dune does at the end, where you can see all the different characters in the game and you can sort of go through them all and watch their death animations if you press a button. Occasionally they'll do an attack animation as well. It was just a neat little detail, ultimately. But yeah, that was Strife. That is all endings and also, hopefully, all kills. I'm probably not going to verify that last level. I'm going to just assume I did it correctly because there isn't that much to miss beyond the enemies that are in holes. And usually if there is an enemy alive in the hole, you can still hear them. So I'm just going to assume I'm right. If not, that's okay. I did my best. So I'm not too concerned. Ultimately, though, I've honestly been sleeping on this game for so long, and playing through it, the more I played it, the more I enjoyed it. And there is actually just so much going on in this. So there is some criticism to be had about how the story gets a little odd through the game, but I think the port that Night Dive did is just incredible. It captures the game so well. And honestly, in terms of problems that I ran into, it was primarily just a couple doors that didn't open with some enemies behind it in one level. Like, the rest of the game just worked incredibly. And such good job. Plus, the source code is just freely available, so I could figure out a bunch of nonsense that ordinarily you probably wouldn't even have thought of. And it's just been a great learning experience, honestly. So I hope everyone enjoyed it. That is the end of Strife. Next time we play, we'll be playing something else, and I hope to see you all there next time. I did not think there would still be so many animations to go through. I, for some reason, thought the Inquisitor was the last one. But this also gives you like a little bit of a better look at the actual enemy designs as well, which is kind of cool. Gives you some way to actually figure out the names of the enemy. I think this one is usually just called the Entity, but also occasionally the One God. It depends on which source you look at it, but there you go. But with that, we are actually done. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Next time we play, we will be playing something else, and I hope to see you all there. Bye-bye.